human. Play, Damjat, human.
Hello once again, my lovelies. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Pirate Scum Gaming here, with another build review for you fine folks. Today we are going to be taking a look at my take on a cannon build. And for that, I am using my trusty Fleet T6X Kolasi Siege Destroyer, also known as the Garumba. This fast, agile, powerful little ship packs a hell of a punch, gets the job done, and it has the unique abilities almost no other ship in game has. This ship can transform into what I affectionately call my Demon Claw mode. As you can see, it forms the Demon Claw, and while in this mode you have access to a Javelin ability. And this Javelin ability has a very unique style. It looks like the Death Star going off, where each point on the claw meets to fire a single devastating Javelin volley. This ability will be demonstrated in the upcoming ISE, so stay tuned. But if you don't want to see the build and you want to skip right ahead, feel free to do so via the chapters. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this build. Let's get back into standard mode here first. Alright. For forward weapons, we have the Terran Task Force Disruptor Dual Heavy Cannon. I'm using this for its massive 200% executability on targets at 25% health or lower. Next up, I have 3 Elachi Dual Heavy Crescent Cannons. The reason I'm using these guys, as the title of the video suggests, is its armor penetration ability. Yet, as you can see there, 2.5% chance, plus 50 armor penetration, and 100% shield penetration. Armor pen and shield pen means the target dies faster. And if you're like me, I like my targets to die fast. Die fast, die hard, die screaming. That's the way I like it. And the one thing you're probably noticing is that I'm not running a torpedo. No, not this time. No, I'm not running the Dark Matter Quantum this time. This is a pure cannon build, ladies and gentlemen. And I can say that I was not disappointed, as you will see in the upcoming parse. For Space Core, we have your pretty standard fare. Elite Fleet Intervention Proto-Matter Deflector from your fleet colony. Make sure you're getting the one with the coal crit for the added crit chance and crit severity buff. Prevailing Innervated Impulse Engines. Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core from your Spire holding. And the Tilly's Review pending Modified Shield for its massive shield pen buff. Aft weapons, I'm using the Heavy Biomolecular Disruptor Turret from the Counter Command reputation. And I am using both the Trilithium Omni and the Trilithium Phaser Turret for their chance to give some added firing cycle haste. Because you want your stuff going off and firing as fast as possible, hitting as many targets as possible. Fire cycle haste is king when it comes to DPS. For experimental weapon, I am using the Soliton Wave Impeller from the T6 Ryzian Escort. This is, if you didn't get this during the summer event, it is now available in, I believe, the Mud Store. Yeah, like I've been telling you guys all along, get the free ships. Don't pass them up. Because you never know when something on them is going to be really, really good like this. Again, even if you don't think you're ever going to use the event ship, grind it out anyway. You should never know. Next up is your energy amplifier battery from your beam R&D. Deuterium surplus from your engineering R&D. I like to call this my go-go juice, or as the others call it, evasive in a can. This is takes a little bit of doing to get. It's a little tricky. Basically, what you got to do here is go into your mission journal, go up to the available tab, scroll on down to skirmish, to Spectre's arc. My apologies. And the episode you're going to want to play here is Skirmish. Now, once you've completed this mission, you have to take a jaunt down to the Alhana system, which is just south of Drozana. There you will do a very quick system patrol, kill some Cardassians, and from that point on, you will be able to craft the deuterium surplus ad infinitum, as many as you want, for as long as you want. This was a huge boon to the DPS community when they threw this in the R&D schools, because before you could only get five a day. That got a little annoying, as you can imagine. Now as in the R&D, you can craft as many of these things as you want, many of those as you could possibly want. So yeah, that's definitely worth getting. Next up is the Kobayashi Maru transponder from the Kobayashi Maru event a couple of years ago. This basically, you activate this in the briefing period and you get a chance to get some additional buffs. You get bonus damage, max haul, damage resistance rating, max shields, which that don't mean shit, and speed and turn rate. This is a very handy clicky to have. So if you ever get the opportunity to get this again, I highly recommend you get it. All right, a universal console slot. We have the Lorcator, also known as Lorca's Custom Fire Controls. This is available to you in your Discovery Reputation. And the reason we're using this one is its massive Starship Shield penetration buff. As you can see, it is giving you almost 158 Starship Shield pen. And as everybody knows, Shield pen is king. Because the faster you blow through the shields, the faster you hit the hull, the faster you kill the target. Next up is the Temporal Trajectory Shifter. This comes off of the Narendra Federation side and the Vorel Support Cruiser on KDF side. It's basically the T6 Vorcha. And the reason I'm using this is its massive firing cycle haste. I have firing cycle haste buffed pretty good on this. As you will see here, we got fire weapon firing speed hasted by 50%. That's a very substantial amount. This is a very great console to get. I highly recommend it. Like I said, it comes from the Narendra on the Fed side and the Vorel on the KDF side. Next up is the Domino console. This comes off of the Bajoran Interceptor. Pretty much the only way to get this now is the Epic Phoenix Prize token. This console buffs phaser damage, but since I'm not using phasers, that doesn't really do much for me. Gives us some accuracy, but again, the reason we're using it is its firing cycle haste, as well as its bonus damage buff and recharge speed for bridge officer abilities. Now, if I were firing a torpedo, this would give me 100% recharge speed for torpedo weapons. So you'd be pumping out torpedoes left, right, and center if I was running a torpedo, but in this case, I am not. Next up is the Immolating Phaser Lance. This comes off of the Deimos Pilot Escort. This is a huge weapon. It does massive amounts of damage, and it's great against groups of targets or even large targets. Next up is the Universal Console M6 computer. This comes off of the T3 Temporal Escort. This is a poor man's version of Domino. So if you guys don't have Domino, you can get this. You can take and get this off of the T3 Temporal Escort for a little bit of dilithium. And as you guys know, and I've talked about this before, dilithium is not that hard to get in this game. There's 10 tons of way to get dilithium. So a few days of farming can net you this fine console. We get 15% bonus all damage for 15 seconds, 25% cooldown reduction for tactical bridge officer abilities. Well, that definitely comes in handy, doesn't it? 20% firing cycle haste, all weapons, 15 seconds. There's a firing cycle haste we're using it for. Plus it also gives a bit of bonus accuracy and a bit of defense. Next up is the Binaural Infusion Circuits. This is a Lobby Store item. Reason for using this is its buff to hull capacity, which ties into Tyler's duality, which I'll explain here in a little bit, as well as its good amount of crit severity. Also from the Lobby Store is your Tachyokinetic Converter. Again, we're using this for its massive flight turn rate. Not that this ship needs it, but hey, you know, every little bit helps. It also gives a bit of crit severity and crit chance. And for tactical consoles, we have the locators and one exploiter. This is available in the Fleet Spire. As soon as you are able to get them, I highly recommend you get them. These are essential for any endgame build. Now, the ship does come equipped with a hanger, so I went full Nausicaan because, you know what? That's my character. I'm a Nausicaan. And these little guys pack a punch. These are mean, vicious little buggers. I absolutely love these fighters. They're mean, they're aggressive, and they do not stop until the target is dead. And they just absolutely swarm. I love these guys. These are available at your Fleet Starbase. And for specializations, of course, I'm using Intel, Primary, Temporal Operative, Secondary. And as you can see, I am still using the same space skill tree that I have been using. I have not changed this. This is a great all-around skill tree to use. Feel free at this moment to pause the video and take a screenshot. I won't mind. Okay, moving forward. Let's talk about traits. All right, first off, we have Adaptive Offense. This is an exchange. Excuse me. This is an exchange trait. Gain 2.7% crit chance on critically striking. 0.9% critical chance becomes 3% crit severity for 10 seconds. Max 9% crit severity. That's a pretty decent amount. Next up is Fluidic Cocoon. 20% chance when receiving kinetic damage plus 5% bonus energy damage for 20 seconds. And as you all know, the Borg love to spam off torpedo spreads. So I'm getting, this is up quite a bit at a time. Next up, Context is for Kings. If you did take damage in the past second, plus 3% all damage resistance rating. If you did not take damage in the past second, plus 1% bonus all damage. And as you know, when I do my ISEs, I run with a tank. So odds are I am not taking damage, so I am getting that bonus all damage proc. Next up is Unconventional Systems to help shave some cool off on my universal consoles. Shave the cooldown on that. Next up is Superior Cannon Training. This buffs my cannons. Not a lot to say here. Everyone gets a standard cannon training, flat 5%. You can upgrade this to 7.5% at your Fleet K-13 holding. Next up is Terran Targeting Systems. Flat crit severity, not much to talk about here. Fleet Coordinator, plus 2% bonus all damage per team member. So if you're running in a team of 5 in an ISE, that's 10% bonus all damage. Next up, Intelligent Agent Attaché. On Weapon Critical Strike, restore 2% of Captain Ability recharge time. The sooner we get those abilities recharged, the faster you can use them again. Next up, self-modulating fire. This gives energy weapon and projectiles gain 50% shield pin for 10 seconds. Not much to talk about there. That's enough said. And of course, the newest thing on the block, Boimler effect. This is for cooldown reduction. Alright, for Starship traits, Terran Goodbye. This comes off of the Mirror Warship. You get +5 critical chance for 20 seconds when you defeat a foe. And ISE, you are killing stuff left, right, and center. Next up is Withering Barrage. Everybody should have Withering Barrage. They've been giving this away like candy at Halloween. This extends the duration of your cannon scatter volley. You got this during the Klingon event. They gave away several ships that have this already. So everybody should have a copy of this by now. Next up, Emergency Weapon Cycle. This comes off of the Kurak, the Arbiter, or the Morrigu. On emergency powered weapons, weapon power minus weapon power cost and weapon firing speed. Firing cycle haste and weapon power cost reduction. This is essential for any energy weapon build that you're doing. If you're not using this, you are doing yourself a massive disservice. Next up is Universal Designs. This one comes off of the Crossfield Refit. When activating a Universal Console, duration lasts 20 seconds, stacks up to 5 times, plus 2% crit chance and 10% crit severity. So for every Universal Console you are using, you are getting this buff. So that is why it is essential to keep those Universal Consoles on cooldown as quickly as possible. That way you are maintaining this buff. Preferential targeting. After using Beam Fire at Will or Cannon Scatter Volley, plus 100% damage to Beam Overload and Cannon Rapid Fire. Why I have this on here, I have no idea. That should not be there. Something got switched out here. Yep, that should have been on board the lithium recrystallizer. Yep, that got screwed up on the... I was not running that on the ISE, you will see later. That got screwed up afterwards. So that's on me for not catching that before I started this video, guys. So, on board the lithium recrystallizer. Using an engineering ability adds power to subsystem with at least bonus damage for max subsystem. So basically, this gives additional bonus damage for every non-weapon subsystem power. So that is why engineers love this one. Because engineers have more power than they know what to do with it. And last but certainly not least, Ruin of Our Enemies. When defeat a foe, 3% bonus all damage for 20 seconds. The effect stacks up to 100 times. Duration resets on trigger. Every 5th defeat, 15% recharge time to bridge officer abilities. This is a wonderful trait to have, but unfortunately, it is locked behind the Discovery D7 Miracle Flight Deck Cruiser. Miracle Worker Flight Deck Cruiser. This is a very, very hard ship to get. It is a promo ship. I was lucky enough that Augie was so very, very kind to gift me this ship. That is the reason I have it. It's ludicrous that they locked it. That this great trait is locked behind a promo ship and it's so hard to get. It is an essential endgame trait. Next up, let's talk about some space reputation traits. First up, Tyler's Duality. Solving this trait will passively increase your starship crit chance based on hull capacity. Right now, sitting unbuffed, I am sitting at plus 4.4% crit chance based on hull capacity. Now, I have a few things that are buffing up my max hull capacity, so that's helping this. But another thing that's going to help you with this is a Blade of Jevonite. You can get that on the exchange, or you can get it via DOFF missions. But the DOFF missions are terribly unpredictable to be able to get it. So it's just easier to get it on the exchange. And I hope beyond hope this year that they add that to the R&D. I really, really hope they do. So let's go ahead and activate that Blade of prototype of Blade of Jevonite and see what this does. Alright, as you can see, it has jumped up to nearly 5% from 4.4. So now I'm getting additional crit chance based on that. So definitely worth using the prototype of Blade of Jevonite to help buff this ability. Or this trait, I should say. This is Discovery Legends reputation. Next up, advanced targeting systems from the Dyson reputation. Not much to say about that. Magnified armaments from the Gamma reputation. Again, not much to say there. Precision from the New Romulus reputation. 5% crit chance. Get as much crit chance as you could possibly get. And for this build, I'm using Tactical Advantage. Now, normally I would run controlled countermeasures. However, for this one, I am trying to buff up my armor pen as high as I can get it. So as you can see, this one's while your target's health is less than 50% plus 10 to plus 25 armor penetration. So by using this, I am buffing up the armor penetration buff that the Elachi dual heavy cannons give. Active space reputation, not much to say there. These are pretty standard. So let's take a look at some bridge officer stations. On the Ensign Engineering Universal, I have emergency power to engines to help me get around the map, and to help proc the emergency con hologram, which helps recharge the recharge time for evasive maneuvers. There we have Augment Boarding Party. This one is more of a debuff than anything else. It's just about 209 minus all shields every second for 35 seconds. The less shields you got to cut through, the faster you get to haul, the faster it dies. Attack Pattern Beta for the debuff. I'm using Distributed Targeting 3 to help get around the Cannon Scatter Volley. And then the main damage source for this build, Cannon Scatter Volley. Next up, I have Beam Fire at Will. This helps get around the Trilithium Omni. Try and get more firing cycle haste. Focused Assault. For the bonus damage that it gives. Cumulocite Laced Weaponry 3. Who doesn't like radiation explosions? God knows I do. Emergency Power to Weapons. This helps with emergency weapon cycle. These next two traits are here based solely for Yukon procs. These two abilities, Emit Unstable Warp Bubble and Eject Warp Plasma, are the only two engineering abilities that proc unconventional systems. And down here for science, I am using Tractor Beam 1 as well as Scramble Sensors 1. Only reason I'm using these are also Yukon procs. So as you can see, I am using 4 different unconventional system procs. And you'll see me going through these abilities quite often during the ISE run, just to keep unconventional systems doing its job, keeping things on cooldown. Alright, so let's do a quick beauty shot tour around the ship before we jump into the ISE. Yeah, I really love this ship. This is, I don't see a lot of these flying around. I really wish I'd see more. These are fun little ships to fly, I have to say. I think it's a really good looking ship. So let's do a quick look around, put it into Klaw Mode real quick. I do like the Klaw Mode. This is really cool looking. This almost reminds me of a starship face hugger for you Aliens fans out there. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this ISE. And then afterwards, we'll take a look at this parse from that run. So, stay tuned, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Okay, let's take a look at this parse. That was a hell of a run, wasn't it? I am, of course, at James Bryce. Tagging along with me for this run is my good friend Megla, who was so kind as to run his support tank. My friend at Jack Card, who was the science controller for the run. Had Mikey here being tank. And as you can see, another great tanking job by you, Mikey. 82%. That's about 83% total damage in and 87% total attacks in. Great job, buddy. And another one of my good friends, Grumpy Old Nord, fellow streamer, tagging along in his DPS role. He did outstanding. As you see, I did just about 312k on a theme build. That is very good for a theme build, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and do a deeper dive into this. Here we go. Okay, so you can see my dual heavy crescent wave cannon scatter volley 3, max DPS of 105, just about 106k, and they outperformed the Terran Task Force dual heavy disruptor cannons, which kind of surprised me. However, my max one hit for the run, the immolating phaser lands, doing nearly 238k by itself. Now, what I tell you, that thing hits like a truck. And if you can line it up and nail it on a group of targets, like a group of spheres grouped up at the transformers, that's where it really shines. This thing hits like a truck, and I'm not disappointed. I love this ability. Solid Tunnel Wave Impeller didn't do quite so well, for the simple reason that I did not have my engine power maxed out. The Solid Tunnel Wave Impeller really shines on a torpedo boat where you can put almost all your power into your engines. But still, it did fairly good for itself. Heavy biomolecular disruptor turret, this did almost 19k. That's not bad. Could be better, but hey, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Pets did pretty decent. Here's a Trilithium Omni. Or a Phaser turret, rather. This did fairly decent for itself. Here's the Omni. Here's the Omni. Let's go ahead and take a look at my pets. Let's see just how well those little Nausicaan Stingers did. They did quite well for themselves, if you ask me. Here, this guy had a real nice max one hit, almost 100k. I like that. Like I said, these little guys don't mess around. These are vicious little buggers. Go on down the line here. Entropic Rider, could have done a little bit better. Okay, here's the Javelin. Here is Death Star mode. Here is Demon Claw. I'm going to shoot you in the face. I'm going to grab hold of your face and rip it off mode. I probably could have done a little bit better, but I'll take it. It's there basically for Space Barbie effects. That's all. That's what it's there for. It's really not meant to do a heck of a lot of damage. Probably could have been better had I been running some other abilities, but it is what it is. Alright, so as you can see, this did very, very well for itself, considering this is just a theme build. This wasn't a very serious DPS build. This was just something I put together because I've always wanted to. And I like the Elachi Crescent Dual Heavy Cannons. So, be keeping an eye out. I got a couple more builds I want to do with them. So overall, I would have to say this is a great build. I love this ship. I like the Elachi Dual Heavy Cannons. This did a heck of a lot better than I thought it was going to. I highly recommend this ship if you like fast, nimble, little fighters. This guy does the job. Like I said, I really like this ship. Highly recommend it. overall I have to give this build 8 out of 10. Could have done a little better had I had the dark matter quantum torpedoes on there, but like I said, this is a theme build. Wasn't intended to do ludicrous amounts of DPS. So that being said, this is Pirate Scum Gaming reminding you, don't go by the book, think like a pirate. And I'll catch you next time.
Like all Starfleet, you talk and you talk, but you have no gramba.